I get the idea, but putting this many popular search terms in one ad is... No, I'll do it. This is Kyle from TrueStory.fm, and I'm here to encourage you to become a supporter of our shows. You'll marvel at what a great deal it is from here to DC. If it's your election to pay just $5 a fortnight, you can get early access to ad-free episodes plus bonus content made just for members. Why, that's less than an espresso. You'll be a star. Wars have been fought over less amazing treasure. You look nice. Did you get a new tailor? Swiftly head over to truestory.fm/join to find out how you can become a member. It's a great place to be, your own personal pink pony club. Well, it's time for me to say goodbye when I'd rather say hello, kitty. Is that what you wanted?
Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Do you like movies?
Do you like sports?
I never played that sport on the screen, but I really enjoyed how the movie made me feel.
Well then, have we got a show for you. The Adrian Moment is where my friend Ocean and I discuss the triangulation of sports, movies, and life.
We dive deep into the movies, discussing how they relate to and have affected our lives.
We will talk about why the sport matters to the movie, why you don't have to love the sport to enjoy the movie, and mine a few nuggets of meaning inside the story you may not have realized was really there.
After listening to our show, come join us for more conversations about the movies that portray the thrill of victory
and the agony of defeat.
Find the Adrian Moment podcast on your favorite podcast app and join us while we cover the sports you love and the ones you never think about.
You will never see sports or sport movies the same again.
Hey, psst. Hey, you see that Snickers over there? If no one's looking, you should just take it.
No! Don't listen to him, my son. That would be stealing, and stealing is a sin.
Sin Schmin, it's a friggin' Snickers bar. You deserve to have it. Sinning really satisfies you.
Repent, my child. Virtue is the only real snack worth savoring. For that candy bar is merely a gateway to nougat damnation. Has this ever happened to you?
Listening to the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you're not sure what to think?
Then we're here to help. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III, and this season on All the Feelings, we're examining the 7 deadly sins.
You know, the fun ones.
And the 7 heavenly virtues.
Which are also a thing. Through personal stories, historical oddities, and way too much embarrassment, we take you on a thrilling journey through all the goods and the bads you hear about in church.
But without all that pesky church stuff. So come join us for All the Feelings Season 9, a sometimes funny podcast about being human. All the sins, all the virtues.
All in one place. Go to allthefeelings.fun to learn more, or subscribe to All the Feelings wherever you get your podcasts.
Game over.
Oh, there you are. I was hoping you'd make it. Come in, sit down. Welcome to the Story Well. If you've found your way here, then here is where you belong. And rejoining us at the table, to my immense delight, is acclaimed author Ryan Dalton.
Hey, it's my delight. I've been looking forward to this.
I always enjoy when you come on because you have a singular brain, and I like that we get to share the same imaginary space.
You can say eccentric. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're in good company.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're the most fun people, I think.
So I've been thinking recently in terms of stories and things that are interesting to me and how things fall into fashion and out of fashion. I've started thinking of them as orbits. So like I find that certain things I'm interested in go away, but then they come back around. So it's interesting. So with that as the metaphor, what stories are sort of in your orbit right now? Like what are the things that you're drawn to, that you're interested in, not only in creating, but also in consuming?
That's really interesting. Well, I've actually just within the last year sort of learned to quantify something about myself and what I like to write, like an aspect of it that I think was always there. I just never really kind of looked at it. Okay. But I was talking with my agent about the next book. You know, there's always a conversation about, okay, what's the next project? And the next thing is a fairly significant pivot from what I've been doing in the past. Basically every new thing I do is a pivot from what I did before. Makes it hard to build an audience, but I can't.
Yeah, exactly. The agents go crazy, but I'm trying to be flexible.
I
gotta
can't
go where
just
the news
write.
takes me.
Yeah, I can't just write one thing. There's too many worlds in here. Anyway, so she told me one of the things I want you to take the time to think about is, what do you feel like there is not enough of that you really miss and want to see? And I started thinking about it because I didn't have an answer at first. And then I realized kind of something that I feel like I've done all along and just never really thought about it. I enjoy and wish there was more fiction where there were genuinely good people trying to be good people.
Yes.
I feel like for too long a time, there's been kind of a trend of even the protagonists are essentially like really bad people.
Yeah.
And, once in a while, is that fun? Sure. But after a while, you're just like, man, I just want someone to root for, and to feel good at the end.
White, and it's fine. But when the TV is Walter White, and then you turn, and then it's House, and then it's sort of like, oh, everyone on there is a jerk in some way, even though they're helping. And it gets a little dour.
Yeah, and I realize, it's not like that. I need everyone to be like, Leave It to Beaver, sure. But just really people I like. Stuff where people at their core are good people.
Yeah.
And even if they've got to do things maybe in the gray a little bit, they come back to wanting to be good people. So that was what I more consciously started to pursue in these next things that I'm doing.
And then what sort of stories then are, I guess, as without revealing, not asking you to reveal anything about what the big concept is, but what sort of things are you taking to go into the inspiration pool for that?
It's the things that I think about how I like to feel at the end of reading something or at the end of watching something. I'll give you a great example. There was a movie I just watched recently. I missed it in its theatrical release. It was on TV, but I just recently watched Chef with Jon Favreau.
Oh yeah. I know that movie.
A great movie.
It really is.
Yeah, and it was one of those that I kept waiting for, like a kind of an overdramatic turn or some manufactured thing or some villain to show up or things.
Someone steals the truck, someone burns it down, someone steals his recipes.
Yeah, there was even a point early on where he buys his son like his first little chef's knife, and he just explains to him, hey, this is danger. It's a dangerous thing. It's a good thing to have, but be careful with it. And in my head, I was like, at some point, his kid's going to cut himself on the knife, and it's going to be dramatic.
Into the hospital,
exactly.
Emergency room with the kid in his arms, and then the anger call to the mother. And
but it didn't happen. It was just a guy who hits a speed bump and rebuilds himself. And the people around him, even if they disagreed or not trying to destroy him, they were also good people. And it was, there's plenty of room for, diabolical villains and things. Of course.
Right.
But man, it's so nice to get to the end of a story sometimes and be like, man, I really like them. And I'm glad they did okay.
It's almost like we've come to the point where having your heart in the right place is like revolutionary.
I know.
Like when you're selling a show, you have to be like, okay, he's dark and troubled by that. Like, what if he was just like good at his job and nice to people and surround himself with nice people? Would that be?
Is that okay?
So terrible? Yeah. I recently watched A Man on the Inside. Which is a Netflix show starring Ted Danson. It has that same vibe too.
Oh, nice.
It's sort of like it's a cozy mystery, I would say.
Oh, nice.
But everyone in it is sort of like they're trying to find there's a criminal, but that's kind of it. Like the idea is that everyone is basically like good. There's just one person who's not as good, who's like they're trying to determine.
Interesting.
But everyone else are just. They're just pleasant to be around. So it was, I'm like, I'm like, I've forgotten this feeling, this sort of, even the sort of the sitcom thing of like, I just want to hang out with the friends.
Yeah.
Low stakes. Like, I kind of, maybe it's because this is in the winter time. Maybe it's just that feeling of like, I just want to be, I just want hygge. Like, I just want to be cozy, I don't.
Yeah. And I wouldn't describe anything I'm writing as like going into cozy as much as I enjoy that sometimes, but I definitely get what you're saying about, and I do think that's a growing niche, because the whole Legends and Lattes series in the fantasy genre is like cozy fantasy about in a fantasy world, running a tavern essentially. And I've been intrigued to read it. I haven't picked it up yet, but when I saw that was like making a name for itself, I thought, oh, that's interesting. There's a lot of darkness already out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just want to genuinely like sink into something and just be wrapped in it and relax.
Yeah, I like it. So let's maybe that will infuse whatever we come up with tonight.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can put together a story and maybe where our headspace is at. So I'm going to roll a die to find out what the format of our story will be. We have rolled a 6. Oh, it says wild card, which means you get to choose. What do you feel?
No, it's too much responsibility.
So you're okay. Well, I'll help eliminate some stuff. Your professional job is as an author of books. So because you do that on a regular basis,
let's try something else.
You want to do something else. So we've got other things on my list are television show, audio drama, film, or play.
Oh, interesting. Well, you do a lot of plays, so you probably wouldn't want to do that in this either, right?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. It's nice to stretch this different set of muscles.
So the other ones were audio drama, TV show, and film. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
they also can have multiple.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like we've also done our share of screenplays. We've even worked on some stuff together.
We did.
We've worked on some audio drama. The only one that I have not really ever try to write anything for is TV.
Okay. All right.
Let's try it. And if we fail, it will be hilarious.
That's right. Spectacular in its failure. So that as things go on, this can be, I recently had a guest on and we started as a film and it became a television show. It was something that could run for a very long time. So these things can happen. But if you think of it, it can be a mini series or it can be like a long running show. So if you want, you can think Mandalorian sized of
Okay, interesting. Yeah, my next question,
The Office of 100 and whatever episodes.
My next question was going to be: is it do we also pick a genre, or do you roll for that as well? That's next.
So I'll roll for that as well. So that's my 20-sided die. So
okay,
that is a 15, which is a fairy tale. Oh, that's interesting.
Fairy tale TV show. Interesting.
Yeah. I say we're in the once upon a time territory.
Mm-hmm.
And then a 19. Oh, boy, the fates are really being specific on you. It's guest choice.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the gods have turned me loose.
Yes, exactly. So
what's on the list?
Television show. Okay. So we've got ghost stories, thrillers, spy, fantasy. Obviously, that sort of fits into the fairy tale thing. Well, although
let's do something diametrically opposed to fairy tale. I'd love to see an interesting mashup.
Sci-fi. That's sort of on the other side of that.
Sci-fi fairy tale. Interesting. What else? You had 19 total to choose from?
Yes.
What else do you have in there?
Okay, so we have, let's see, it goes down. The list that I have created is historical fiction, political satire, ghost story, thriller, spy, fantasy, mystery, romantic comedy, romance. So those can be obviously different. Action adventure, sci-fi, crime caper, comedy, horror, fairy tale, drama, suspense, a public domain character, and superhero.
Interesting. Okay. Public domain character. We did that last time.
We did that. Yeah.
That made me flash back to King Kong. That was so much fun.
Yeah. And as 2025 has rolled in, a new set of characters have been unleashed in the public domain too. So
yes, yeah. So the ones that caught my attention, and we should decide together. I don't want to just take over. So sci-fi could be interesting just because it's two very opposed things. I mean, comedy could be fun, but that's so hard to convey sometimes when you're just conceptualizing.
Yeah, I'm wondering about spy is wondering to me
the others that stuck out. Spy could be interesting, and did you have political satire?
Yes.
Also, I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Well, how about I narrow it down to those two, and then you pick from those two because either of those I think would be fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of the spy thing is interesting because I haven't really seen that in terms of, and then adding the fairy tale part of it too.
That's very true.
The first thing that comes to mind is from the Fables series is Cinderella was like a secret agent.
Oh yeah.
So that's interesting. So okay. So start thinking about that. Let me generate us a plot then from the story engine, and we will
You know, with this one, it might be a little more intricate. I'm actually going to bring up a notes app just in case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Keep whatever you need to. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Wow. Story engine deck comes through again. Okay. This is interesting. This could be fun. Okay. So the plot it has generated is a villain. Ooh, already wants to achieve a dream involving a long lost exhibit, but they will lose their closest friend.
Oh.
Okay, so
I need to write that down.
Yeah. So
wants to achieve their long lost.
Yeah, they wants to achieve a dream involving a long lost exhibit, but they will lose their closest friend. So already we're sort of doing the opposite side of fairy tales. So let's not be thinking about princesses, but be thinking of villains, Big Bad Wolf and Hook and.
So I'll tell you how that's hitting me at first.
Okay.
Just like
please.
First impressions could be a really interesting, almost like a fairy tale. Although that we said spy, because when I read this, I almost think could be almost like a not quite a treasure hunt, but almost like searching for like the lost city of gold or something. Like he's like actually searching for it, but that's more adventure and less spy.
Well, but what if we had it be that our villain is in disguise?
Could be, yeah.
So
definitely. They've got to be in order to make their way through to.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you could have, like DreamWorks, like the bad guys, like about villains doing something, or it could be this is a villain who's trying to, do this thing, but he's doing it under the guise of hero. So he's like around. So it could be actually some of what we talked about, bad becoming good. In terms of like having like a bad around good people, and that slowly it changes. It sort of changes over the course of the series, however long it is. It changes him. Yeah, it's the reverse Breaking Bad. So it's the Breaking Good.
Right. Breaking Good. That's funny.
You start out from an out and out villain, and then sort of head in that direction.
You know what would be interesting is if the twist on, let's say, if that kind of log line you had is how you would actually describe the show to someone.
Yeah.
And hearing they'll lose their closest friend, you might think, I know I'm talking about the end here at this already, but you might think that, okay, they'll lose their closest friend, like they'll give them up in order to get this thing.
Right.
But what if it's the opposite? What if at the end they decide what if their friend is also a villain?
Yes.
And at the end, the friend is intent on still being the villain.
Yeah.
And it becomes a hero versus a villain thing. So that's how he loses his friend. Not from some tragic thing because he chose the exhibit he was looking for, but because he chose to give it up and his friend chose not to.
Yeah.
So there would have to be a reason why
he actually changes over the course of it, but his friend does not.
And there would have to be a reason why at that point he has to keep his friend from getting it as well. So there would have to be a cost to finding whatever this thing is that he was willing to pay. The cost would have to be something villainous.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where it took me when I first.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm trying to like sort of go through and figure out what just traditional fairy tale. Do we get into like myths and legends? Like is that too far?
Well, I mean, we could. I mean, really, there's different flavors of it for fairy tale. I mean, we could go something if we wanted to, even something a little bit cozier. If you consider The Princess Bride almost fairy tale-ish, except just without magic, there could be something like that.
That's fairy tale. I mean, Ever After is, Cinderella story with no magic,
exactly. So there's ways to do it, although magic is fun. So
yes,
I'm not saying in no way. If I read this and they were like, no magic, I'd be like, ugh.
Well, yeah, you could have it be, let's see, post-apocalyptic is mine, but like after a cataclysm would be interesting. Of that we have our long lost exhibit. Maybe there was something in a vault or a museum, like a lost collection of things, and that our villain wants to get the MacGuffin, the magical dingus, to regain where he was. So maybe this is, the evil queen from Snow White or whatever, like this is where, like any of the evil kings, this is Midas, whatever. It's one of those
what if
tragic stories, whatever too, but this is after.
What if the cataclysm involved the end of magic and magic was what they thought was everybody thought destroyed, and maybe the villain was sort of maybe almost like a Maleficent character, where it was very dependent on a very powerful type of fairy tale magic, and that's gone. And at all costs, he wants to get it back, but there's going to be a heavy cost. Maybe this exhibit is actually like a receptacle for almost like kickstarting the sun again and Sunshine, except for magic. But there would be a heavy cost. But he's willing to pay it, of course, because he's a villain.
I think I found the myth that fits into this. Morgana Le Fay.
Oh,
this is post Camelot.
So would Excalibur be the receptacle of magic?
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that far. I was just thinking, like, would it be interesting to put Morgana Le Fay and Mordred on a road trip?
Oh, interesting.
So like Camelot has been destroyed. Like the Round Table is gone.
Yeah.
Like the knights are dead.
So from the Camelot point of view, it's post-apocalyptic.
Yes.
So it's almost like the Dark Ages.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So it's after all that has fallen. Like you could literally start out with like the Round Table shattered.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I wonder if I mentioned the Excalibur thing.
Yeah.
What if the stone was the exhibit? It not Excalibur, but the stone itself, and maybe you could even go, if you wanted to rewrite some of the legend, that the stone actually was what imbued Excalibur with its magic, and maybe it's got juice enough to imbue one more item that would essentially kickstart magic again. Yeah, and so you could even think that, say, the reveal at some point the villain has the item that they want to use with them that they're going to put in the stone. Intent all along on putting it in to re-harvest or reignite magic. To create new myths, to create new, like the sort of all the prophecies have been or post prophecy at this point. So like now there's the waft and weft of fates or whatever are now open, and so like you could create something like this is a environment to create something new and to forge a new Excalibur or whatever using this gem. A new thing. Like it's like there's a space in the world that Excalibur used to be in, and whoever can put something in there then becomes the chosen one, type thing. Like, and that could be then I'm trying to put my boy Mordred. I'm trying to put him in that position. Oh, what if? Oh, that could be interesting.
Oh, so like mother and son,
and then what if? Yeah, it could be.
Okay. She like turns over the course of it, and then she's actually is like, "Hey, this isn't.
This may not be a good." Well, it could be. I mean, what if they even thought we could make our own like Dark Avengers version of the Round Table?
Yes,
and we could.
Oh yes, that's really good.
And that's what they want. And they could also say it could either be an object, or maybe the object is what would happen if a person stuck their hand in the stone,
right?
And so they're both on board for that because she would have essentially power over Mordred because he's going to do what she tells him. And
so she's the one who knows where it is. Like that knowledge was lost to time wherever the stone
or part of it
to be in.
Part of
it where it is, or it moved.
Or part of the show, since it's like a spy, could be tracking it down, hunting it. Like maybe she's got clues, but there's things that there could be people she has to like extract information from. There could be like lost libraries or receptacles of other knowledge that they have to find to pull clues from, and
they're both probably physically weaker because of all of this stuff too. They have to then assemble a group around them to help them. So it's like recruiting the warriors. Like they're picking up people along the way who think they're on this noble quest to like restore Camelot.
So they're all sort of unwitting.
Yes. So like she could be like, no, I'm Merlin's sister, whatever it is. It's
so then
playing as if she's trying to bring Camelot back, but she's actually trying to create
interesting and then counting on whatever magic they reignite to essentially maybe still be able to turn them to her, bend them to her will.
Yes.
That could be really interesting.
Or even like that she's trying to along the way sort of like just move them further down the morality scale.
Yeah. Just playing with their heads, like pushing them a little bit into a grayer territory.
Right. And then, but meanwhile, they're actually dragging her the opposite way, which she doesn't realize.
Yeah.
Like, and she starts to, it's that whole thing of like, well, I mean, the food is just sitting out there. Like we should just, they're not here. We should just take it. And then, as you go along to go, oh, but these people are starving because of what you did. Like the reason, like, your spell killed all their cattle. Now they have nothing. Like this, but still having like the people being generous to her and her being really surprised by this.
Yeah.
That inherent thing of like, no, people are always out for themselves. They're only ever out for themselves. And then,
and the benefit of them having like being in disguise, essentially disguises this whole time.
Yes,
is that people would just treat them like
she's Gandalf. Like she comes down like, oh, look, it's a wizard. Like a witch or whatever. It's everybody's so excited and stuff too. And just be like, yeah, I'm totally going to help your crops grow.
Right. Yeah. And they treat her not like probably she's been treated for a long time.
Right.
Because
if you to the Marvel analogy, this is Agatha, but she's being treated like Captain America. So whenever she comes in, people are like happy to see her. They're glad. They're happy to share whatever they have with her and all that stuff. And it's really, really disconcerting. Yeah.
It makes her question some things. Well, at first she wouldn't believe that it's genuine.
Yes. She would think like, oh, also I'm used to servants. These are just servants.
Yeah, some it could be like, well, this is how I deserve to be treated. Of course, for you to be subservient. And others, it could be like if they're genuinely kind with like even no apparent motivation, but they're just kind.
Yeah,
it could be at first like, well, what's in this for you?
Right.
Or thing is what is it going to cost me? And what's your angle?
Yeah,
and to find out like, oh, there genuinely is no angle, which she's probably never seen before, and at least since she turned down her path.
Yeah.
I'm wondering also there could be an interesting way to have some magic in the show.
Yes.
It could be that could it be that and which would also allow her to be acknowledged as like a wizard, like as people like, oh, you really do have some power. I mean, could she have already some sort of receptacle that has a limited store of like the last bits of old world magic?
And she only has a certain amount of it. And
she a certain amount of charges.
Refill
like a staff, like from Skyrim or something, where it's got so many charges, and then that's the end of magic essentially, unless they can get to the stone. And I just think it'd be interesting for her to be able to do some things and present it as, yes, I'm still special and powerful and everything, and nobody knows that like every time her power dwindles. And that means every time she uses it, it has to be a very deliberate choice for a very deliberate reason. And it could start off with very selfish choices and very slowly going towards unselfless choices. With how to use it. It's just a thought for one element.
Yeah, exactly. Just think of like, because the color of evil magic is always green, right? So like to have like the glowing green gem, and like every time it just dims a little bit. So you get to, like by the time you get to episode 12 or whatever, it's barely barely a night light.
And then with the last one, it shatters or something.
Yeah, right.
And then it's just for dramatic effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be interesting to like then get into like the philosophy of magic too, of like then she finds a way to tap into something that's more natural as opposed to this harvesting of it. Sort of,
that could be interesting. She finds an alternate, healthy thing,
right? As opposed to this, which was like, I don't know, the souls of prisoners or whatever it was. It was like I could
something
see
that draws. Something that draws from like the life force of the world, as opposed to like the force where it contributes, to and helps it grow.
Yeah, I can even see her having to, if she finds a way to sort of recharge this thing, she like leaves all them sleeping and then goes into a field and then sets the magic, and then like all the crops die.
Oh, it's interesting.
Pulls the life energy into it.
So that could be a way that she keeps it at least a little bit replenished.
Yeah.
But she knows that even that is like maybe the amount that she can replenish it is like less every time.
Yeah.
So there's diminishing returns, and she has to destroy more and more life, and she's getting less and less return. Yeah. So she knows like the end is coming. It would be interesting if you have to have some bit of magic in order to kickstart even the stone. Yeah. And so she has saved that one charge. But again, I keep thinking towards the end. Like I'm thinking of the climactic scenes where like instead of using that last charge to kickstart that magic again. She ends up using the charge to shatter the stone.
Yeah.
And basically make it so that that's not even an option going forward anymore. But that's what, 12 episodes. If it's a limited series, 12 episodes in,
Right. So she's positioning herself as a good person, like she's pretending to be a good thing. Then it would be interesting down the line if she's being hunted by someone. Then what about Lancelot?
Yeah, someone who for a number of episodes is painted as like this dark pursuer. Yeah, this like dark force that she is terrified of.
Yes,
that seems like that you think is going to be the villain. Yeah, and it turns out to be like Lancelot or Galahad.
Galahad's really good too. I was because Galahad is, as opposed to Lancelot, who's sort of by this point was broken. He was part of.
But Galahad was like the fresh new, knight. Yeah, that could be interesting. At that point, Galahad is if
you meet him midway through, then she already has this group of people around who are like, no, she's really helpful, she's really good, and he's like, that's the worst person in the world.
Oh, and then that's the reveal that the whatever the episode is at the 2/3 mark, the low point is when they all the group finds out she's Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. And they're like, so this is the one who like everybody. She's the boogeyman.
Yeah. She's the one who destroyed the perfect kingdom, who brought down the greatest king in our history.
Yeah, interesting. So we've talked about how she would kind of make herself sort of almost like Sauron did, kind of like a creature of light as opposed to.
Yes.
But what about Mordred? So he would have to go against type to something. Someone helpless even, or.
So I mean, if you think of it sort of, I was thinking of it sort of a Draco, sort of like I was supposed to be like that sort of annoying, like the boy who would be king kind of thing of where's my castle? Why didn't I get to?
So like when they're in private and nobody else is around, he's that brat.
Right. That he's just not necessarily sniveling, but he's just so seething that he didn't get what he was promised. Like, bitter. You told me my whole life, you said we were gonna that, but still
I like that.
We're going. It could be something in the magic of the thing of that she has to put someone on a throne. Like she can't do it herself.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
It's written into the deep magic that Merlin can't rule.
Yeah. Well,
he has to fight Arthur. Yeah. So Morgana can't rule. She has to have Mordred.
So the catch with the power is you can only give it to someone else.
Yes.
Could be interesting.
Yes. Oh, and that's really good.
So she's going to give it to Mordred, the person she's twisted for his entire life.
Oh yeah. Then if you have Galahad there, then maybe that's after she shatters it, then she gives it to Galahad.
Oh, that could be interesting.
And that's all the way through. She's just been like, no, you're my special boy. You're going to be the one. You're going to be, and
that could be interesting in that if the person becomes like the new kind of like fountain of magic.
Yeah,
it could be almost sort of like a light side, dark side thing where whoever becomes that sort of decides what the nature of the magic is.
Yes.
And if it's Mordred, it's going to be just more life sucking,
right?
Taking in order to gain. But with Galahad, it would be something that recontributes.
Yeah, it's the rock in the stream. So they're like whoever gets put in there, like in stones, like there's a whole metaphor.
Nice. Yeah.
The river will turn based on who you put in that one, and will it go?
Yeah. What direction will it turn?
Right. Exactly. Will it go towards the dark or the light? We don't even say dark and light. We can just say,
the flow of the river, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really cool. That's a great.
I'd say just to keep that, like
the stone metaphor. Yeah.
The stone. Yeah. Exactly. Like there's been a lot of water metaphors, but like if we keep that with the stone thing of.
I like that.
That is the thing. Because like the story in the stone. Yeah. But the stone, the sword goes away. The stone is still there.
Well, and which would also be a fun twist because you could even drop hints that make people think, oh, it's going to be Excalibur.
Right.
But then you get there and it's not at all.
Yeah, it's literally like a stone with a gap.
You could even, like, if you wanted, like, as part of the
wow.
like,
This is
go
it.
ahead, please.
I just saw it in my head so clearly that they get to this, like, that they had built this entire thing around it, and they go and they see it, and like the light's shining down, and they're like, "Where's the sword?"
Right.
And they're like, she's like, "Oh, it was never about the sword."
What a great moment. Because and maybe all this time she's letting them believe that it is Excalibur that they're after.
Yes.
Because Excalibur is this legendary force for good.
Right. And they should keep you saying that. That's like this, that.
Oh, you know what would be interesting? What if, as like a final, like, middle finger to Arthur, what if her, like, receptacle is a shard of Excalibur?
It's just,
it's jagged
like
and battered, or maybe it was like almost like a Narcel type thing, except it's like it's totally melted, so it's like this amorphous metal blob. That's like a shard that melted.
Like you were talking about a gem. Like, what if there was a gem in the hilt?
Yeah.
And all that's left is the handle
green
that
gem
around the gem.
Yeah.
And that's all it's she's carried. So it's like this beautiful gem with this weird twisted metal thing wrapped around it.
Yeah. And that's like the last known shard in anyone's possession of Excalibur.
Yeah. Oh, and maybe that's also how because we don't know that. We just think it's just a magical stone.
It's revealed at some point.
It's pulling, because like the metal comes from the earth, comes from the rocks,
and it's attracted back to the stone.
It's attracted back to the stone.
They gave it its power.
Right.
It could also be how Galahad's tracking her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Or maybe not all the time, but maybe he can get like glimpses of it, or like pings from it or something, and can follow, in addition to just using tracking or whatever to try to stay on her trail. That could be interesting, though. It's another one of those things that, like, it has like strings going out, like fate strings going out to her and to Galahad and other people.
And it could also be that he doesn't even know what it is. Like, he's not actively.
That's possible.
Concentrating. So
it feels like instinct to him, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like it literally is like he is caught in the current. So it's just
interesting.
Like, for him, he's just like, like praying with his sword or whatever too, and it just like tells him where to go. And it's actually like the stuff it's pushing him. They're pushing them all together.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, could even like this may be too far, because you don't want to like start giving intelligence to too many inanimate objects. But I wonder if like if somehow like the shard of Excalibur and even the stone have, in a non-person kind of way, almost a will of their own, and it could be that they're also trying to draw Galahad as the kind of the light side balanced to Mordred.
Yes.
Saying that basically we need a warrior of light here to basically throw your hat in the ring in this battle, because it can't be just two dark people going after this power.
Right. I mean, it really could be that whoever the magic worker is. So it was Merlin before, and now it's passed to her, even though she doesn't know all this stuff. This is like, once again, this is the roads that were paved by the Fae before. Like, it's just like they're fun. And you have to make this choice. Like, that's what it comes down to, is that final climactic thing of, we're not saying you should be good or you should be evil. We're saying you have to decide.
Nice.
It's not the fates. It's not destiny. Like, we're putting you in a position that you decide where we go from here.
Kind of like what the Grey Jedi say, basically, in that, the Force becomes light or dark based on who's wielding it.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was an interesting take on Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that thing of choose. Like, that's the mystical thing of, like, there even could be, in her mind, like when the vision clears, whatever, it's like in a bed like of light, and then in a thing of shadow, the two of them fighting each other, like Mordred, and then she sees like, oh, this is where I have to decide, my boy, or this self-righteous person who's been pursuing me.
I just thought of a tagline.
Oh, okay.
Because I was thinking about like that choice, and how key that is to the tipping point of her character. Yeah. And it just, in my head, I thought, okay, well, it will end up demonstrating that power doesn't make you, it reveals you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when she finally, after this kind of, odyssey, finally comes to the choice, then what her true inner self has become is revealed. So it's not, so that could end up being sort of the overarching theme about power not making a person, but laying bare who they really are.
Yeah.
And you could have that echo in the character journeys of like all the characters that are in the troupe, just in different smaller ways.
Right.
And have it just add up to kind of her larger lesson at the end.
Yeah. Even you could have your like your 16-year-old like who always dreamed of becoming a Knight of the Round Table.
Like a D'Artagnan sort of.
Yeah, but can never have it.
Yeah,
because now it's gone. Yeah, so it's like it's that. Yeah, D'Artagnan is really good. He shows up and then they're all like, no, there's no more Musketeers. They're gone.
Yeah,
it's all over. You missed it. But it was like all he wanted. So you have this idealistic kid, along with sort of like who has that bright, shiny Camelot. I say her head just because we have a lot of guys running around here too. Like this girl always wanted to be a knight. And then
this is a great segue into the side characters who I really am eager to talk about.
Exactly. So like to have her always around as sort of, she has a vision of what Camelot was, but was never there.
Yeah.
Like
so
she's got distant villain. And so it's sort of like whenever we see flashbacks of Camelot, it was sort of like just kind of Game of Thrones. It was not this perfect ideal, but she has this, and then sort of, is bringing them all into her sort of like.
Well, it's like how we romanticize like, the King Arthur legend, and we romanticize even pirates now and things like, so she's looking at it as, through this golden lens.
Yes.
and partly because she knows she'll never have it or thinks she never will, could. That could be cool.
It feels like the universe we're building is kind of just with people. I don't really see like to have a centaur or I feel like
just people.
Stuff, pushes it.
I like keeping it just people. Yeah. Because then you get into so much like, well, for one, you got to think how much world building can I do? Let's say if we're doing like a limited series. Yeah. I mean, you got like 12 episodes.
Right. Yeah. That's
how many species and civilizations can you really pay justice to?
Every time I tried to be like, oh, should there be like brownies like in Willow? I was like, it feels off what we're trying to do. So
I think just keeping it people, maybe even you could say if you wanted a little something, it could be that something about that cataclysm that destroyed magic did end up affecting certain people or certain bloodlines. Maybe if you wanted something a little different, but I do think
who are they fighting? I guess that comes because I mean if this is like a it's going to have that's not an action, but it's going to have some sort of fantastical things, whatever. So are there walking skeletons in this? Like I mean, just not quite to like gelatinous cube level of D&D, but just like are there zombies? Like
well, I have I think part of an answer.
Group that they're fighting?
I think you could have 2 or 3 different sources of danger and conflict that you just pay little moments to that would sort of build them. So you could have, I do think it would be interesting to have maybe someone's trying to build like a militia type thing and their intention is to be a protecting police force.
Yes.
But of course, what can end up happening with that is it doesn't end up being so altruistic.
Right.
So it could be that
could be like a force that they go with, and then
that they contend with.
That the guy who's running it was actually her enforcer. Like he was her.
That could be interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden, again, we have her past is coming back,
and she has to face more consequences of past actions.
Yes.
And it could be you reveal that plot point at a moment where she has kind of become good to the point where she doesn't like these guys. Yeah. It doesn't move and sees the bad things they're doing, and suddenly,
right.
Yeah. I did this.
Like I thought they're captured. Her group, all of them are captured, and she's thinking it's going to be terrible. And then it turns out, I know this guy. Oh, this is going to be great. And then when she pals around with them, she's like, this is not all.
Well,
like
it would be interesting.
Pillaging, like, I don't like this. I'm not in a good place at all.
Yeah, and she actually sees how the actual everyday person is affected. There's some oppression that is growing from this group that's supposed to protect them.
Yeah,
it would be interesting if
the young knights has her mom is with them as well, so she can be that sort of matronly figure. So she has like just sort of just a regular sort of working woman.
Like an Uncle Eero type character, maybe.
Yeah.
Sort of a salt of the earth wisdom a little bit.
But also just very practical.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, prophecies, swords, sure, whatever. Like, where are we getting our next meal?
Yes. Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Just, like
a reality check
or something. Yeah, exactly. Just like, okay, great. Potatoes? Like just
I love that. Yeah, you gotta have someone who's like, okay, we need to build a fire. Yeah, yes, prophecies and all magic,
sure.
but we're cold. So
yeah, exactly. Rain. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, we need some shelter. Yeah. Oh, I do like that. For the militia group, it would be interesting if Morgan thinks that it's an old surviving roundtable knight.
Oh,
and then to find out that it's her guy instead. Yes. It could be an interesting turn. Okay, so we've got the young girl who wants to be a knight.
Morgana and Mordred sort of travel together. We have the young knight, the girl wants to be knight, and her mother.
So what do you think? Maybe two more? We don't probably know more.
We get comic relief. We need a something.
I got sidetracked because we talked about kind of the different sources of conflict and danger.
Yes.
What if, as a result of this cataclysm, there are zones that, as you wander deeper into them, become more and more dangerous?
Yeah.
Like the deeper you get into them, the more dangerous and deadly creatures there are.
Yes.
And it could be even just like dark miasmic whirlpools and like bog creatures from trees that were rent and, by dark magic and things.
Yeah.
And
that annihilation thing of like twisted animals.
Yeah.
And like it just, things get weirder.
Yeah. Maybe some reality subtly bends around certain things. And so, and you could even, it could be interesting where like in some of them, maybe some people actively try to go into them because there are artifacts in like deep in the heart of those, and if you can survive it, you may find almost like a D&D camp mission. If you survive it, you may find a little trinket that may help you along the way, or not. You may find nothing.
Right.
But I just think it'd be interesting to also have the environment also be dangerous at times.
Yeah.
Because it'd be boring to just have militia guys that you're running into all the time.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. The same 5 stuntmen in masks.
So you said comic relief.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about what that could be like, and where and why is comic relief with them?
Yes, and I would say the two sort of archetypes are comic relief and like a warrior of some kind, like a proper sort of fighter.
A Gimli.
Right. It could be that. It could be, or it also could be like a Jason Momoa sort of like, sort of swaggering pirate kind of guy. I mean, multiple different things. You could have like a knight and squire. Then you have sort of like the squires. You have that comic relief thing there too.
True. We do already have a young kid character.
Yeah. True.
And kind of a similar dynamic with the mother-daughter thing.
Right.
But I actually like your idea of like kind of the more swashbuckling soldier type.
Yeah,
I do think that would be fun because even if they're not the comic relief, they would be fun.
Right. So I guess I think of it in terms of off of what we're going to see with when Gawain shows up, you're going to have like sort of the ideal knight. So to not have it be so much like the Hound from Game of Thrones, but also just like very soldier practical kind of thing. Like this is a working knight. So as opposed to like a superhero, this is a soldier.
Yeah, this is a guy who just gets things done and
right. Yeah, exactly.
Sleeps under a hedge and
right. It's just very. I mean, just low maintenance, sort of like just very matter of fact, and as well, she's like trying like, do you ever twirl your sword around your head? He's like, why would you do that? Like you drop your sword, like
no doubt.
Not like a stick in the mud, or it's just very much like why would I wear armor?
Uber practical.
Yeah, exactly. Just like this is, like sort of your just wandering adventurer type, just like a sheriff without a town.
Oh,
just
yeah,
like a
interesting.
good guy.
Yeah.
But just very much like no frills.
Yeah, I like that. And would be an interesting kind of like straight man character too.
Right.
Who, yeah, not like a stick in the mud, but just like almost like doesn't understand anything beyond, well, this is the thing we need to do, and this is the right thing to do, so that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. What's going to mind is from The Magnificent Seven, Steve McQueen's character, when they first meet him, like, where'd you come from? And he points behind himself, and this is where you're going, and he points in front of himself. Like that kind of just that cowboy, I guess, kind of feel of just like, well, that's the way like
just passing through. Yeah.
The weird, misty things with all the things. If it's what we're on the other side. All right.
Like, so what do you do? I help where I can.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? Yeah, whatever needs to mean.
Yeah. Depends. Just like that sort of.
I love that. Do we ever get a straight answer from you? Well, sometimes.
We'll see. Yeah. And then to have our young knight just be like, oh, a real knight, like a real thing. And,
that would be such a great dynamic.
Right.
Yeah, just like someone to look up to. But he doesn't go for all the glitz and glamour and everything that she's envisioning.
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. Yeah. Just like an old grizzled wolf and a young pup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just sort of like just that running along beside him of like, tell me the great battles you. Like, I don't know. I knocked the guy's eye out once. Like, is that interesting?
Yeah. Did you like fight any legendary things? Like, yeah, I was surrounded. I chopped a lot of heads off and I survived. So.
Have you ever fought a dragon? Well, I stabbed a big dog once. Like,
that's great.
Like a dog? No, he was really big. He was
a big dog.
He was big. He was a big dog.
Someone told me it was a dragon. I think it was just a really big snake. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. There's no great tales of adventure. It's just like
he diminishes everything.
Yes.
It's just like it's just another day in the office, man.
Right. Does it sort of have a name? I don't know.
Yeah,
like
it could be.
I picked it off of a guy's. I pulled it out of a guy that I found.
Nice. It might have had a name at one point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Did she sort of have a name? It didn't say. That could be fun. And then as you get to know him, you could find some interesting reason. I think it would be too hammy to give him like a secret tragic backstory.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But at least reasons to be like take comfort in the consistency and the simple direction of what he does.
It could be that he was an idealist.
Oh, it could be.
The world just sort of changed him into a pragmatist.
That would feel very real. It just kind of beat him into a little bit of cold practicality. Not that he's a cold person, but that he sees kind of refuge in cold practicality.
Yeah, he is the sword that became the plowshare. Like he's like he thought like kind of like she did.
He had visions of glory,
chivalry, and all this this thing, and it just became like no, it's mostly just like pulling drunk people out of bars. Like that's mostly what your job is.
Yeah, it makes me think
or some guy with a big helmet and a flag points, and then you go and kill the person he points at.
Go that way.
Yeah.
Okay. It makes me think of they say a few times in the Wheel of Time series, especially early on when the main characters are first kind of out in the world, that like what adventuring really is a lot of times is looking for a dry place to sleep on the ground.
Yes. Yes, that's really good. Yeah, I can see that. That's almost come out of his mouth of like, and he and the mother sort of agree on this too.
Yeah.
The two of them could, and maybe there's even a romance there too.
Could be. Maybe she softens him a little bit, gives him a little glimmer of hope. And
because both of them are very just like, where's the next meal coming from? Where's the next bed? Like, and that's where they sort of find common ground.
Yeah. Yeah. That could be, it could be one of those really, I like the kind of like the quiet romances that are just, there's no like, there's no bombast to it.
Right.
It's just really peaceful. They find peace with each other.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
I can even see like, as opposed to, I think Morgana is going to be like chatty and Mordred's going to be whiny and stuff too. And just to have him like go off on his own and the mother just come and sit down next to him and they just sit.
Just sit, yeah.
And eat. Like, just like They don't enjoy the quiet.
Well, yeah, Morgana is like, I mean, you could think of her almost like a Loki type character where her words are as much of a weapon as anything.
Because she's trying to like get all these people to believe.
Subtle manipulations, subtle, always a plot and a plan. Yeah.
She can't rely on her magic to do anything anymore because it's
a limited resource. Yeah. And then to see these two people and what they're kind of developing together without any scheming at all, and how they seem, there may even come a point where she realized they're so much happier than I never even thought about being happy.
Right. There's magic in the ordinary.
Yeah. And there's power and not power. And then she sees these two who don't care at all about power.
Oh, this is so good.
Yeah, this is really good.
It's really good.
If we say so ourselves, this is very compelling TV.
I'm already enthralled. Like I already have a season pass set. Okay, so comic relief. Anything from that? Now that we have this group sort of assembled,
the only thing
one sort of space missing.
The only thing I don't want is a bard because it's so cliche for the bard to be the comic relief.
Could it be a talking object?
Oh,
you
mean like the head in was it the game series, the God of War series?
That's pretty good. Yeah, to have something that either was a person and now it's just a head, or it's a magical box of whatever. It's something. So it's sort of R2D2, but you can understand what it says, but it can't, whatever it is, it can't move things. So it's not like a robot or anything. Like it's just like literally a talking box.
What if it's Archimedes?
I don't know if that's too far outside of what the magic that we have sort of.
Well, it would have to have a use. I have a thought, but we can discard it if it's too cliche or whatever. For one, what if the box is some form of Archimedes? That Merlin's owl.
Oh, that's interesting.
And Merlin did something to preserve him inside this clockwork cube or sphere.
Okay.
Or something. So he's not like trapped in there, but like his essence maybe is like woven into this clockwork sphere.
Well, maybe we steal a page from Star Trek.
Like he's an oracle. He's like not an oracle, a Jedi, a holocron almost.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Or were you going somewhere else? Go ahead.
I was going somewhere else because I thought it would be interesting. What if he was, and they did a little bit of this in Maleficent, but what if he was a magical familiar who is now a man?
Oh.
So you have that thing of it's an animal in now a human body, and it doesn't know all of the things. So you have a little bit of that like human, not human thing of like Data and Odo and Spock, where they're teaching him about like,
it's interesting.
Grab food even when
it's interesting you say that because I think I got locked in a little bit on like the clockwork idea. But Merlin was traveling backwards in time, which would mean he would know all sorts of interesting future tech. So what if it's a man built around a clockwork heart that has the essence of Archimedes in it? So he is sort of he's a former magical familiar that is now part man with a machine heart.
Yes. I guess they could probably call him the clock, just because that's all I can think of in terms of like technology of this time. That
he would probably keep that part of him hidden.
Yes, he looks like a person.
Yeah,
he's
an odd one. Maybe even the way he moves is a little bit unusual.
And we hired Doug Jones to be.
Oh, of course, we hired Doug Jones.
No makeup, just himself,
just Doug Jones.
Just do what you do.
That's brilliant.
To have it be that, and even to have that, like, when they're not paying attention, like he can like rotate all of his joints 360 degrees, so suddenly he's like reaching straight up behind him and getting a thing like or like
that's
bringing
really
it
cool.
all the way around over the top. He just like they have to teach him.
Like
how to walk like a man, how to talk like a man. Like
and so many experiences are new. Like this made me think of a Voyager episode where where the doctor is, I forget how it happened, but his consciousness is essentially in 7 of 9. And the first time he tries a piece of cake, and it's her. She's like,
yeah,
just like goes nuts. This is amazing. insane. And they're like, yeah, it's cake.
that I think that would go along with our whole enjoying the ordinary world if we had
an innocent joy.
Innocent joy. Exactly. Like it just like, have you guys had water? It tastes amazing. Like that kind of all of them around it, and the sort of childlike wonder of this. And it could be, like you say, it's a 6 foot, 7 foot giant.
Yeah. Who can do crazy things with his body when called upon.
Yes. But also is fragile.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because that heart requires maintenance and fuel of some sort.
Yeah. Maybe he's Mordred's like pet project or whatever. Like it was something that so he's the one that has to sort of maintain it. Because that has a connection between the two of them. Mordred's sort of the odd man out at this point.
What if he sort of like it doesn't start out that way, but it sort of becomes like Mordred, and maybe something breaks and Mordred finds he has an aptitude for fixing it.
Yeah, he's being taught. He's teaching him how to here's how to fix me. So.
Oh yes, you got to do this and reach in there.
Yeah,
I can't see it. You got to do it for me.
Yeah, it's the Pepper and Tony Stark. Don't touch the sides thing.
It could be interesting because that could make the viewer feel like, oh, maybe this is the window towards redeeming Mordred as well. Yeah. But then you have a dark turn at the end when you realize, no, that is not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that you have he comes like the Archimedes comes running to the rescue, and Mordred knows exactly like what the key gear is and just yanks it out. He's just
like a marionette.
Yeah, exactly. Just like absolutely stops and just like, oh dear, like he's stuck in that position. Yeah. He can't do anything.
But then, of course, by the end, he manages to mobilize himself enough to help. So
yeah,
because he has to contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. This is really good. Like I could see them like almost the Lord of the Rings silhouette of all of them walking, because that's like they all have a different look to them. So
so you'd have almost like a human sort of Iron Giant type looking guy.
Yeah.
And then just the stalwart soldier. Sort of, you'd have the almost like the girl with like the Arya Stark sword, the needle sword, just like with like maybe a blade that she paints gold.
Yeah, and like a cauldron on a bindle, like for the mother.
Oh, nice!
Her cast iron pot.
The Samwise, like the Samwise of the group, essentially.
But like that's her most valuable possession is
the
like
pot.
The pot
we can't.
It's been passed down.
Yeah,
that was made by her great grandfather, whatever, in the forges and stuff too. And now like every one of her family has had this thing, and so like it's just like, and it's just an ordinary, no magic.
No, just a pot.
But it is magic in its own way, because how many people has it fed versus your sword, which how many people has it killed, like which is the more
man, well that's got to be a conversation.
Come on, right?
Well, that could be interesting.
That's a campfire conversation.
Well, what if like the daughter
sword and she's like cleaning out the pot,
and the daughter asks him, how many people has your sword killed? And I don't think he's the type of guy who would ever care or have kept count.
No.
But then somebody, maybe he even deflects like, well, ask your mom how many pots or how many people her pot has fed. That's what really matters on a battlefield is feeding, people. And that could be one of the first connection points between the mom and the soldiers when he acknowledges what she does.
Oh, that's really good. Mm-hmm. And in true Merlin fashion, we had the ending before we had the beginning.
I know. We kind of reverse engineered.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, unfortunately, it comes to the most difficult part of this.
Oh, are we at the title part?
We are. I
got to tell you, because I just struggle with it. But I still think about how proud I am that I actually came up with a half decent title for the last thing we did. Yeah. And I was like, but I thought of it, I was like, that's not bad.
Yeah. Well, you did come up with the Year of Lightning, which is still a great title.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
Very first book. That's a good one.
Appreciate that.
So I feel like every version of the pieces of the Camelot myth have been used. So like Camelot's fall or something.
I don't want to use that. Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff, anything with the word Excalibur in it, any of that stuff, I feel like has been used. Yeah. So is it better to not tell people exactly what we're doing with the title, to not be,
what if we named it after whatever name, we'd have to come up with the name, but here's the concept of whatever Morgan is calling her dark round table.
Oh,
so
yes.
what's her dark version of the Knights of the Round Table, or even just the Round Table, and we could call it after that thing that because that's what she's trying to create this entire time. But
her Dark Kingdom, her boy, it's like, man, this is the problem with fantasy. There's so much of it out there that I feel like every good version of it, like the King Killer Chronicles, like what a great title.
You
like,
don't want it to sound cliche. You don't want it to be too obvious.
Yes.
But if I were just sitting and brainstorming, the most basic thing I would start with is, okay, let's look at antonyms of round and table. I'm looking even like, what is the opposite of a table?
Right.
Synonyms and antonyms for table.
It'd be interesting if we could get something stone related in the title, though, too.
Yeah,
such a big thing, and to not have it, not the word stone, just because then sword in the, but to have
maybe
something.
If we chose a specific stone, like obsidian, or of course obsidian's a little overdone.
I say the obsidian court, I'm sure
has been done. Yeah,
I'm sure there's nothing somewhere.
Although that does roll off the tongue nicely,
right?
So yeah, there's nothing that like really is standing out when I'm looking at antonyms for table, but I'm still looking.
Oh, how about like Court of Fey and Flowers? What about like obsidian and?
Yeah, that's possible.
The Order of Obsidian.
It's a little generic.
Yeah.
All the stuff I'm thinking of right now it feels generic.
It's like what stone thing? What types of stone haven't been used? Slate, granite, gravel.
And it's got to have some sort, and it can't be just any, because it's got to carry like it has to evoke like a darkness.
Yeah. Right.
So you can't say like the Emerald Table or whatever, because that's like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
And this may be going completely down the wrong path, but it's
it's I'm like, do I have any other?
There's Bloodstone. That's a little bit too on the nose. So there's Moonstone, but that's a little bit not quite. Sunstone,
Lapis Lazuli. That's really good.
Ruby. That's a little.
Oh, what about Whetstone?
As in something to sharpen a blade.
Yeah.
What would you pair it with?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It would be Whetstone or something and Whetstone, like obsidian and Whetstone.
Is Whetstone, is that like a real type of stone, or is it just? It's
just the name of the stones they use to sharpen. I don't know why is it called a Whetstone? It's based on the word whet, which means to sharpen a blade. Okay.
All right. That's very,
it's what it's made from.
It's on the nose.
Yeah.
Black sapphire, black. I'm looking at.
Here's a word I've never heard before. Often whetstones are used with a cutting fluid to enhance sharpening and carry away swarf.
Swarf. Okay.
SWARF. Swarf.
Swarf. Oh man.
Water used for this purpose is also called waterstones.
Oh, waterstone.
Waterstone's interesting.
Well, I mean, all the kind of the thematic things you talked about at the beginning with the stream and the stone redirecting it. Waterstone. Interesting. I like that. But what could we pair that with? Waterstone.
Blood. Waterstone.
Blood and Waterstone.
See, arcane's already been used. That's a great word, but already a very famous show called that.
I'm still actually trying to think of if there's any good takeoff of like the idea of a table or a platform or something that. Like I said, that dark inverse of the round table.
Yeah.
Opposite of a table, and like I said, that may be a total dead end. But I like Waterstone.
Yeah. Oubliette.
Oubliette, right? It's French for a place of forgetting.
Yeah, that's right.
There's an old Patton Oswalt bit from his stand-up.
Oh, the bed that eats
deathbed, the bed that eats people.
Yes. I've cited that many times.
Death table, the table that eats people. Yeah. I'm thinking it might roll off the tongue of just like the Waterstone something, a thing.
Yeah.
Like if that's what she's referring to this thing, it doesn't have to be the opposite of a table, but what the Waterstone.
Way of the Waterstone? There's the WW.
The Way of the Waterstone? Yeah, nothing I'm coming up with like rolls off nicely.
Yeah.
But the Way of the Waterstone could work. I mean, that's one that I would definitely jot down.
Yes. Yeah.
I would not discard anything that even just sounds like, that could work. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it. We'll stick with that for now. And then
let's go with that.
as you know, maybe the people will come up with something better. So put it
in
out there.
3 days, something will pop into my head and I'll text it.
It'll come back and be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Way of the Waterstone.
Way of the Waterstone. All right. So, all right, there we go. There's our post-Arthurian legend, Morgana Le Fay, on her epic quest to bring back her dark version of Camelot.
Man, I would watch that show.
Way of the Waterstone. So, I hope it gets to be made, and maybe you, listener, will be the one to make it because
please do.
We are releasing this idea. It is all yours now. The idea of all stuff we worked on here is now yours. It is released under Creative Commons attribution. All we want is to know that you did something with it. Just link it back to us and let us know it is yours, free and clear. If you're gonna make a huge epic 12 episodes of this series on one streaming service of your choice. I think that sounds about right.
Yep.
And then go on that and make $1 million with it. Fantastic. We'll take a cameo sitting in the bar as they go by. Like,
we will enjoy it. Just please cast Eva Green as Morgan Le Fay.
Oh my God, that's so good. Oh, that's so good.
I think she'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, that's great. I hope that happens. Oh man, I'd love to see this. So yeah, if whatever it's right, if you want to write us a book, if you want to do some artwork for it, if you have a better title, let us know. Yes,
please.
Contact.
We have no ego. There's no ego about this at all. Please beat our title. Come up with something better.
Yes, please. Yeah, it's a new contest. Beat our title. So where can people find the fine books that have come from your brilliant mind, Mr. Dalton?
Oh, well, thank you. First, anywhere, your favorite bookseller. So the Time Shift trilogy, because it's a bit of an older series now, is basically just an ebook now, but it's an ebook on any platform you can think of. And the first book in that series is The Year of Lightning. They are time travel mysteries. Then I have This Last Adventure, which follows a boy who uses storytelling to try to save his grandfather's memories from Alzheimer's. And that is fairly recent. So you can get that in hardcover, paperback, or ebook. If your favorite bookseller doesn't have it on the shelf, they can acquire it for you.
Yeah, and I think I could speak both of them when I say also, we love libraries.
Yes, so, thank you for saying that. Yeah, please.
As much as I would like you to get paid for your work, as well deserved, I think we're also big fans of if that you're not in a position to be able to buy the ebook and stuff too, ask your library for it.
Authors love libraries. Buy books. Authors love libraries. So if that's what you got in your area, please go support them. Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you for coming by. Once again, I never know what we're going to come up with, and I'm always amazed at the beautiful thing that has been created.
This is so much fun. It really is.
So thank you for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the stories won't write themselves, so back into the world we must go. Thank you for stopping by. If you're in this part of the world again, there will always be a place for you here at the Storywell. Now, go tell your story.